Breaking the drought. There's nothing more wonderful after a prolonged drought than the sound rain makes pattering onto a roof. Our first hint that the weather was about to break was some heavy charcoal clouds glimpsed in the distance. It seemed as if the world was holding its breath, as if it waited for a giant sneeze and all the goodies that would follow. Then, of all things, a frog hiding in some undergrowth let out a loud croak. When there's no rain, frogs burrow deep into the ground. They have an extraordinary ability to stay alive during a drought, an amazing prescience of when the wet will come. I suppose this is nature's way of continuing the species, as the wet marks the start of their mating season. After that first breathless spell, the rain started, at first slowly, almost reluctantly, finally coming down full pelt. What a pleasure it was watching our parched ground soak up so much water. I swear I heard our trees and shrubs utter thankful sighs as they held out grateful, if desiccated limbs, to receive this bounty. We'd had false warnings before. For months, what seemed like potential rain clouds were swept by strong winds into a vast blue yonder. But this time, as we crossed all our fingers and toes, it kept on raining. Later, just before dusk, the rain slowly eased off, and the last rays of sun appeared, turning the garden to green and gold. That was when the final marvel happened. All the bellbirds, blackbirds, wattlebirds, mudlarks, willy wagtails, finches, wood pigeons and wrens, all the birds that inhabit our garden, recognized the rain for the miracle it was. Spontaneously, they set up a united chorus to show their joy. How wonderful this music was, how delighted we all were, and how relieved. Since then we've had more steady rain. But where once we might have seen wet weather as inconvenient, we no longer take rain for granted. Like anything else, only when scarcity is experienced does one learn to thank its abundant return. Go away! The residents of a neighbouring village are up in arms. Their small general store and post office have been bought by a developer who plans to pull down the 3/4-century-old buildings and put up double-storey villas for the elderly, plus an underground parking lot. The developer argues that as this village's population is ageing, the residents will want to stay in their area and be accommodated in housing more suitable for their declining years. Bull is the kindest word heard in the vicinity. Others can't be repeated on radio. No one wants a retirement village. There's enough retirement villages and nursing homes in the district to accommodate any needy elderlies. But the developer has paid heaps for the land and he'll want a profit on his investment. How can he be stopped? And even if he isn't allowed to put up any 2-storey buildings and an underground car park, what can prevent this site from being used in other inappropriate ways? And what about the store and post office? The village's nearest store and post office are some 5 kilometres away. No more strolling to buy newspapers and milk, more unnecessary driving. No one wants that. The villagers are angry. They hold meetings which everyone attends. They raise money, have created a task force, employed town planning advice, and developed an ongoing website. If only someone was wealthy enough to buy the site back and leave things as they are. So far, no one is. So far, some development is inevitable. So far, all the villagers can do is prevent the worst of this development to happen. But maybe the developer has done this village a favour. From now on, the residents will be more watchful of who buys any property. Also, it's said that constant mental and physical stimuli are the best way to prevent the worst declines of old age. In a perverse way, the developer may have done himself a disfavour. If his plan goes ahead, the villagers will remain physically healthy through walking to the closest store and post office, and mentally healthy fighting him. Rural post offices. Our bush hideaway is located in a village where there's no mail run. In my experience, rural post offices do more than sort mail. Much like the general store, this institution is a focus point of our small community. If I had to write a job description, I'd say that the perfect post person is an early riser, a good multitasker, and convivial. A perfect post person always knows how much it'll cost to post that ungainly parcel, can handle payment of bills, is at one with the post office computer, and is, above all, discreet. If you enjoy knowing what is happening in your community, this is your ideal job. The morning sorting of mail into boxes is one way of collecting information. When folk come to pick up or post, they tend to chat. Though outside boxes are eagerly sought after, sometimes there aren't enough to go around. So some locals have to come in every day to counter-collect. They chat too. Canny real estate agents know to use a local post office when they want to find out who might be thinking of selling. So do property developers and anyone running a bed and breakfast, a vineyard, restaurant, cheesery, maze or brewery. Most of our past and present post office people have been very suited to the job. They're pleasant, chatty, informative on necessary detail, can handle the intricacies of the post office computer, and they're discreet. Things were not always so. When we first came to this area, the post office was run by a very large lady I'll call Post Office Aileen. Post Office Aileen's bulk seemed to fill the tiny office. She made it her business to spread around, much like Vegemite on toast, whatever she fossicked. Nothing was sacred. If an envelope bore a legal name, she knew you were in trouble. A bank statement meant bankruptcy, and a doctor's letter, heart problem, even cancer. Since leaving our village, Post Office Aileen has gone to the great post office in the sky, where I'm sure she keeps a careful check on who knocks on St. Peter's Gate. In some ways I miss her. She was always good on information. Blackberrying. Frankly, I'm ambivalent to blackberry. It's an opportunist plant that seeds and grows in any nook and cranny it can find. At the same time, I have to admire its ability to thrive in poor soil, drought and heat. Some of my most unpleasant moments are when I'm trying to dig it out or cut it away. As if this plant is the plaintiff in an unwinnable lawsuit or an Indian beggar desperate for help, it latches onto my clothes to dig its thorns into my hands, arms, sometimes even my face. Bull ants, those smart insects, find it expedient to nest beside blackberry roots where the soil is looser. They stay cunningly hidden until one false move on my part threatens them, and then their soldiers scuttle up my legs and into my boots. Oh, the indescribable agony of a bull ant bite, and the unbearable swelling and itching that always follows. But there is also happiness standing in front of a blackberry patch in late summer where the boughs are illuminated by dark red berries ready for plucking, and our fingers and mouths are scarlet stained with sweet fruit. A good season means blackberry pies, blackberry jam, frozen packets of blackberry, and even blackberry cordial liberally laced with brandy. Birds love blackberry even more than us humans, and we end up in a tussle as to who gets to them first. Of course, the birds have the upper hand as they fly above the bushes to spy out the best berries, while we find it hard to reach the innermost branches. When this village was almost unknown, when most houses were fibro and only inhabited in summer, blackberry was allowed to grow unheeded on surrounding horse paddocks. Droppings those horses left behind nourished the ground, and thus when birds evacuated their seeds and these seeds took root, the result was the most succulent fruit I've ever eaten. Maybe this proves that even out of droppings, good things can result. Maybe when things are low, when we feel truly despondent or down in the dumps, maybe we can hope for some serendipitous happening.